everyone, it's Janet here in my kitchen in Nova Scotia. When I was in North Carolina this summer, I made a recipe for tea biscuits. Lisa and I had them as rosemary cheddar flavored biscuits, and they were a big hit. However, in the process, they were so wet. Lisa had to keep adding flour into the mix, and my hands were a gooey mess, etc. And I thought, I need to try those again. They are a recipe that my brother gave me, and his neighbor Sharon had made them for him. And he said, these are the best tea biscuits I've ever had. So I'm not sure if Sharon did a drop biscuit and I was trying to shape them with my hands. Anyway, it didn't matter in the end because they worked out great. They were so tasty. Now that recipe originally calls for raisins as the added ingredient rather than the cheddar rosemary that Lisa and I went to. We actually went to the local grocery store looking for raisins and there were none. Hard to believe, but anyway, it was a happy occasion when we put the cheddar and the rosemary from her garden, her summer garden, into that mix. So today I'm going to try those again, and I'm going to start off by reading off the recipe. It is half a cup of sugar. It's 3 cups of white flour, and everyday all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, and so you sift all those together. So here I've got my 3 cups of flour to get me started. I have got the half a cup of sugar to throw into that. And then this is the 1 teaspoon of salt. And then I have the 4 teaspoons of baking powder. I was reading last night, here it is, the baking powder. I was reading last night about the differences between baking powder and baking soda, and they make for a chemical reaction in your baking, and they are the ingredients that it's so necessary to have the precise measurement. Also, if yours have been sitting around in the cupboard for a while, you can look up online, and there are little tricks to testing them to see if they still have their chemical capability or if they've lost that during the shelf time. So that was kind of an interesting thing. So that's going to get shifted together, and then eventually here what's going to get added in is 3/4 of a cup of shortening. Now I was telling Lisa that the shortening I buy is in a box. So I do have Crisco today, but what's neat about the boxes is that they have the measurement along the edge right here, and you just slice down according to the size. I know she buys the kind of container that you scoop out into you have to scoop out and fill a cup and then, remove it from the cup. Mine I keep in the fridge, and I think that's because the colder Crisco works, the vegetable shortening works better chilled for biscuits and pie. It may be different when she's doing her cake. I'm looking for where I set my cell phone. Okay, there it is. So, so it's going to be 3/4 of a cup of shortening that you're going to blend into that dry mix. And then at the end, you go with your added ingredients. I have done half raisins, half cheddar cheese this time. So 1 cup of the added ingredients so you can choose with the added ingredients what you want to do. If you want to do all raisins, or you want to do rosemary cheddar like Lisa and I had done, or this mix of cheddar and raisins together, but it's 1 cup. And I have snuck off camera for a second and got the shortening cut in with my pastry cutter. So, it looks really good, and I'm almost wondering if last time my issue had to do with the amount of flour that I measured out or something, but we'll see what happens when I add the milk in. It was really fun last night when you guys were all answering the question of what movies do you like to watch again? What a list. I love the part of this page where everyone is sharing with one another and giving ideas. So if you have a recipe for biscuits that you think is amazing, we'd love to hear about it down in the comments under this video. Oh, look at that. That's coming together nice. And here's another splash. This is still just the 1 cup. So I think it can handle the 1 cup. Yep, it looks looking good. Not quite as wet as the last time, I don't think. Okay. Very good. All right, here we go with the raisins and cheddar. Here in Nova Scotia, the weather, we still have these really great days. I've had a couple of days where I've driven the 15 minutes over to the shore lately. And yesterday I just went over and the water was so calm compared to a week ago when we were in the path of the hurricane that downgraded to a tropical storm. And I saw pictures of people who live on the ocean, directly on the ocean, and they're pictures of the waves, 35-foot waves during that storm. So always better to not venture in that direction in the middle of a storm, but the people who live there and capture the photos, it's really something to see. But yesterday it was just like a mirror, just like it was as if it was a lake almost. You couldn't even hear the little tiny waves coming in, and then all of a sudden at a certain moment the wind was up and the ripple of the water appeared and I could hear the waves, and that was the turning of the tide, because I realized right then that it switched from going out to coming in. So we have 2 high tides and 2 low tides a day, so basically 6 hours apart, except it shifts by an hour a day, the time of day. And to sit there and visualize that with your eyes, it's amazing every time, even though I live here and I've seen it my whole life. It's really something. The power of nature, the beauty of nature. And as this has gotten stirred together, I feel like when I was at Lisa's, I must have measured out 2 cups of flour instead of 3, and that's why we had to add so much more, because this with the 1 cup of milk seems to be the perfect combination. And it's come together so nice that I don't even think I need to stick my hands in there other than to form the biscuits, which is the next step. So I'm going to prepare for that and keep on trucking. All right, so I'm ready to form the biscuits on my little tray for my toaster oven. And here we go. I got some flour on my fingers, and let's see how this works. I just put a little tiny sprinkle on top of those. Yeah, see, I'm going to just be able to do that. Last time I cut them out with the glass. There we go. I always think biscuits can kind of be rough in form and shape, and you know, they crackle down the middle and all that, so they're kind of an imperfect thing, like almost like a drop cookie would be. There we go. Wow, these are going to be awesome. So they're kind of the size of that. And on my little tray for my toaster oven, probably, I don't know if I'll get 6 on there. The dough looks like it's going to make maybe 8, maybe 9 at this size. Let's see. Might be able to fit a couple more in there. Yeah, I think I can fit them all. that's like. Here we go. As a tech person for the page, I will take a moment and thank all of you so much for ignoring the bots. They go in phases. We got them all calmed down, and then they were hyped up again this weekend. But you guys have done a really good job at ignoring them and then kind of being on there doing your own thing, making comments. There's a few more people that I try to educate that they're not humans who are responding to you. So just ignore them, and then I go in and try to delete as many of them as possible. They're harmless as long as you don't friend them, as the story goes. All right, so let me see if you can see that tray. Yeah, so that's what I'm about to put in the oven. 9 nice tea biscuits. I'll be back. So the tea biscuits with cheddar and raisins are finished. They were done in the toaster oven. I did have to watch that the tops of them didn't get too brown. And I did a little trick by putting a little tin foil over at one point as the rest of them cooked through. So next time I might make them a little smaller, not as tall if I was going to, not as thick if I was going to put them in the toaster oven. So I'm going to post that recipe for Facebook underneath in the comments, and I think you should give them a try because they're super tasty. I've had a few crumbs off of them so far, but they're fluffy, they're thick, and they're really moist. So for tea biscuits, it's Janet for cooking, cutting up, and keeping it real.